Welcome to Super Happy Dragon Lucky. The show will begin momentarily.
Hello everyone, welcome to Super Happy Dragon Lucky. This is episode 83, 0x83. That's the 132nd episode. This week on Number Go Up, we have an interesting situation where two separate miners, individual miners, not pooled miners, won Bitcoin blocks in the past month, which is very interesting. Maybe not. I was talking to someone earlier, and it's not necessarily the stats. It's the probabilities, and it's the likelihood that anyone is running either expensive rigs on their own without using a pool, or even it. I haven't looked. Even if it was a CPU miner, it would even be crazier, but it's still possible. It's just an interesting situation, and pretty cool that it's still possible to get a Bitcoin block, even if it's not worth what it used to be in Bitcoin. In dollars, it's worth more, right? But in Bitcoin, it's worth less. So anyway, pretty cool. Next, we go to Dragonchain Updates. The first is feedback related to a post, an announcement that Rainmaker made. There was an interesting discussion in Den, I believe posted by Nguma, that generated a lot of, I wouldn't say drama, generated a lot of good content and good answers, I think. So it is appreciated. And I do think we answered it pretty well. One of the big questions that we wanted to cover here, though, was the fact that if they are using multiple chains, were they in fact not using Dragonchain? And the answer is no, that they are, for one, by using our nodes, licensing the Interchain patent as it is. They are also leveraging some of our architecture and even some of our partnerships to do what they're doing. And that the actual use of an interchain, as they are using it, they are using the, if you look at the Interchain article from last year, that we have 4 dimensions. We have token transfer, which is what most of the crypto world cares about, although not what most of the business world cares about. And that is, I have some of this token. Can I move it over there? Or can I cause tokens to move on that chain and this other chain, or have some other interaction? The security dimension, which is what we use effectively as one of the tiers, one of the levels, level 5 in our Dragonchain's context-based verification consensus architecture model. So where we scale your ability to effectively checkpoint transactions onto other chains for security purposes. And it's not even just an interesting thing that Dragonchain introduced way back, even during the time at Disney in our discussions with the W3C blockchain working group, that, how do I say this, that we can effectively measure, and we've since refined this, and you can see it best on the eternal.report website, that as soon as we have the level 5 hit, which is going to hit either Bitcoin or Ethereum, and currently, and in time it'll hit both, and any other interchains that are plugged in as level 5s, that we can actually measure the amount of energy in a conservative way, give a measure of the amount of energy that went into producing all the blocks since the time of that transaction on both Ethereum and Bitcoin. And we can extrapolate that again with a conservative estimate based upon mining power and on the cost of energy around the world. And we can deliver a dollar-based measure of what it would cost to have faked the data you're looking at. So that's what the security piece is. The utility piece is also something that you can use, which would be, like, say, if you're connected to stores, and in traditional systems would be anytime you are tying an accounting system to a blockchain or to Dragonchain or anything else. So the reason we wanted to spell that out is that we may very well have, in fact, we do have other interchain operations that currently occur on systems on Dragonchain that have not resulted in us formally creating a level 5 node that would secure all transactions on Dragonet to that chain. In some cases, it makes sense if you have a particularly valuable proof of work, or a unique proof of work, or a particularly valuable network value, like, say, when Ethereum moves to staking, or if there was some network that for any reason would be very secure, that we would then want to add it, especially if it's a measurable thing. I've been wanting for a long time to add a proof of stake network, because the measure value would be different and with a different algorithm than what we have with Bitcoin and Ethereum. So anyway, we do, and I did mention in there, we are working on a particular interchain that should be deployed as an L5, and we'll give you an update when that launches. So, but most of them, we're not going to add that, at least right now, because, like, say, as an example, adding Solana. We used to have Ethereum Classic running, and it had multiple 51% attacks while we were running it. And it helped us to demonstrate that those 51% attacks don't affect our security, because we are also using Bitcoin and Ethereum. Adding Solana right now, though, with its history of downtime, wouldn't make sense. Adding a few other chains might not make sense, because we can't really effectively measure how much security is being added, or it's such a orders of magnitude less proof than what we already have. It maybe doesn't make sense on the measure side. Anyway, we just wanted to cover that so everybody knew. And thanks for all the discussion in there. Hopefully it wasn't too dramatic, and hopefully everyone understands that it's it's an engineering discussion. Sometimes they do get heated, but not anything intended personal. So anyway, next announcement: SmartBallots, and we will have a lot more about this coming. That we had basically worked with a team on the outside, created a new venture in March 2021. You can see the announcement there, March 25th. And what we're doing is we are working with SmartBallots to integrate some of the aspects of how Den.social can provide services and products for DAOs, for decentralized autonomous organizations. So we've been thinking this through for quite a while, that Den effectively already has the ability for any of its communities, whether they were an LCP-based community or whether they were created by a group without going through LCP, the layer creation process, that any one of those groups can, and you could say already does, operate as a DAO. And Den has some unique features that allow it to be valuable for even non-technical communities, where you could have normal users that don't know or care anything about crypto. They can still participate in governance. And Den is about to roll out its site-wide governance. We're very close. The server, the back end has been delivered to the development environment. They've gotten through a few bugs already, and they're putting final touches on the user interface. So hopefully that'll roll out very soon. And we'll have a flurry of activity around getting some governance issues out and decided that we've been holding back on for a couple months now. So that should be fun. And so it should be very interesting, the amount of stuff that we'll have available for people to think about and vote on and give feedback on. But with SmartBallots, what we are going to do is run that functionality officially through SmartBallots, so that let's say if you come into Den and you want to create a layer, you want to have decentralized governance, boom, it's already there. The tokenization is available right out of the box, that you can do there are all sorts of models you can fit into that, including, like, say, if you look at the World Blockchain Roundtable, where the model is continually growing, and based upon your engagement in the system, you will keep growing your share or competing with others who are also attempting to grow their share, versus you might have a business that gives some governance value to people based upon their position in the company itself, or the brand, or the community, all types. And you can do that direct through Den. That will remain. But in the case where you want to register your community or your layer as a DAO in Wyoming, we're going to provide facilities through SmartBallots to do that. And the more interesting side is if you have your own token, or you have your own set of behaviors that you want to measure, where we're talking about behavior-based governance, and that's a big issue coming up that we're going to start writing about and talking about, the use of behavior on top of tokens, or instead of tokens, even to measure governance influence. That anything like that, where you bring your own token in, or your own definition into how you want to govern your group, will run through SmartBallots. And it makes sense, because we're effectively positioning SmartBallots to be able to handle three main areas, one of which is obviously traditional world, where you go into a kiosk and vote on a candidate in your city or county or whatever, and in corporate, where you would have a board vote that could be on-chain, provable, can be proxied with rules, and can all of the things you need to do and you want to do that could be done better with blockchain. And now also DAOs, from the very simple all the way up to the most complex. So that's a new partnership that will be formalized soon, and we'll have announcements. It'll probably come after we roll out all the site-wide governance that will really make it clear to everyone. But we want to make sure everything's smooth, and it's a big release, so we're gonna have that soon. Anyway, that's a good update. Now we go to Den.social updates, and February 2022 LCP commitment phase is now open. The proposal phase ended yesterday. Everything's in there. There are 23 new proposals. This commitment phase will run for 1 week exactly. We'll close out next Tuesday morning, a week from today. And you can look, as a reminder, there is one important thing to remember, and probably did not act fast enough because we thought, oh, we have time to do it, but everything takes longer than you expect. So there is a high-ranked proposal for a layer called eroticism. And we wanted to make sure everybody knows that at this time, if it wins, we won't be able to create it because we think that we need a couple of, and this is a good exercise because, we've had, for whatever reason, we've had a lot of good luck with people not trying to troll, and this isn't an invitation, trying to troll the various communities with, content. I mean, people can get blocked pretty quick, and, we can take administrative action if the community wants, and if we legally think that we need to. But we try to have a censorship resistant platform, and yet there are some things that could pop up in this layer, although I don't expect it, that we want to be careful of, and we want to be cognizant of what others might think in the most conservative ways, so we don't get other issues that might come up. So what we're doing is, and we've told everyone this last month, but we want to make it clear that it won't be created until we have the ability and the priority based upon governance to add what is effectively a very powerful feature, but one that I'm not sure if we're ready for yet because there's so many other things. Talk about that in a minute, where any layer community could, how do I say this, could effectively on their own, either by somebody in the community volunteering, or they could pay someone to create a smart contract, and we would have to expose an interface so that the layer could effectively plug a smart contract in that would allow various types of processing, including banning, some of which will be more generic that we might use site-wide. But and we do note that it is an option in the discussion list for, and we'll talk about this in a minute, where we want to start talking about prioritization, because one of the first governance issues we're going to post is to let the community decide which of these features should be built next. And we're going to continually do that, and it's going to evolve into a roadmap, but it'll be a community-based governance roadmap, right? Where you guys get to say, hey, you know what? I want that layer to be created, so let's push up the smart contract integration API in the list, get that built, and then get the smart contract built, and then maybe in a couple months we can actually have that. So anyway, just so you know, keep that in mind when you're voting. If I would hope we don't get something and only one layer that we can't create. So let's see what happens. Sorry, it was a long rant there. The next similar issue, we had a few proposals this month that could pose possible trademark issues. And I won't go into which ones they are. It's pretty obvious. And what we want to do, we thought, okay, we could require or even unilaterally change the titles or the URLs. We looked at what other platforms have done with those same communities. And it's interesting because you can kind of tell which of those brands are most litigious by what you see on a couple of the other platforms and how this same issue has been resolved there. And so we have a reasonable way to resolve it that I think everyone would agree with. But we thought, let's run it through governance so we can define it. We can say these are rules. And so hopefully nobody's too upset that we held those back from going into the LCP, but it's just going to make it simpler in the future. Plus, it's something that we should all decide in that governance itself. So anyway, next, there were 2 runners-up layers from the January LCP, and they are now live. The multi-sig call was made, and so the contract is the lot contract has now included the Axie Infinity, which had 1.3 million lot from the lore committed and 48 unique voters, and Travel and Explore, which had only 630,000 lore or lot created and 31 unique voters. So both those were created. That'll be pretty cool stuff. I know I've already seen some governance issues in Axie Infinity getting the the banner set up and everything else. So pretty cool stuff. By the way, in the future, ideally it would be nice to have the banner and the avatar in the LCP proposal. So maybe we can even work something in where any of the proposals could potentially add some ruling that you would add it to the replies. And that way, when we create the layers, we can just create them with those images and at least have something rolling out and don't have to wait the time for the governance issue to resolve. So we'll see. That'd be a pretty cool thing. Next, we are, and because of that, because of the delay in creating those layers, we realized that we're going to restrict the runner-up layer creation to the same time that the winning layer is created. So it'll help the team because we had to do the same operation twice, and it's not a simple operation to go through all the multi-sig stuff on that contract. So what we're going to do is say that from now on, if you want the runner-up layer, a runner-up layer to be created, that you have to fill out the form and tip the matter by the Sunday following the results announcement, so that it'll all be processed in one fell swoop. So we'll do that, and there is even another governance issue that will be coming up to add another. And I think I might have put it in discussion. I can't remember. To add more ability to create runners up. Anyway, it'll be interesting. We'll see. The next, DENDAO. So, by the way, we finally are active in the new governance layer. So we're going to be moving from the DEN 2021. I think replies are still on. We'll probably leave them on for the month, and then we'll just archive the whole thing. It'll still be there, but no one will be able to post anything. And we're moving all governance over to DENDAO. So we had a few layer governance things in to get that layer kind of functioning on the who can, opening up the ability to post, for instance. Like I tried to post this the other night and I couldn't, so we had to turn it on. And so there is a discussion post, which I would hope that everyone will read, because it's valuable info. It is kind of the big picture of all the things that I envision need to be built. And there's already one reply that has already mentioned a couple of things. I can't remember what they were, that I think do need to be added. So that was the point. If there's anything missing, because we only have 13 options for priorities, so we have to. I only offered up 12, and so we'll have to figure out. But one way or another, there will be a proposal very soon after we make sure that DEN governance is working well, that will effectively list all of these, probably near to what is written here, with the description and with the level of effort estimates, which are pretty rough estimates, but so that everybody realizes that there might be a reason to vote for something that might not be the most important thing, because it is much simpler to build out, right? That it is something that we could get really quickly. And there is usually I try to plan the feature on any system, not just DEN, where you kind of build out a big feature, and while it is either rolling out or sometimes while it's in test, but even while it's rolling out in production, when you don't want, like, so you might get a bug on day 5 of the first week. And so you don't want to have the engineering staff start on another big rollout because there's too much context shift going on. So we try to take smaller features and nestle them in between. I don't get to use the word nestle much. Nestle them in between big features rolling out, so that you can get more things, more new things happening. So anyway, look at that. Give us any feedback you can. The translations and the show transaction. And I know I should have had the show transaction in there, because I've been wanting that for a long time. We had it We had it in the alpha phase way back, but it was raw, and so we took it out because we didn't really need it at the time. It should be there now. It would be very nice to have. So everything's on chain. We should be showing it. But anyway, so that one will be added at least. The translation maybe is a little bigger. Maybe we drop it off and add it later. I don't know. We'll see. Next, tune in tomorrow for Coffee with Den. Always a good show. Someday soon, maybe I'll get up early enough to surprise be there and disrupt the whole thing. We'll see. Maybe ruin it, right? Next is Den governance calls, now weekly, every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern and noon Pacific. Do look at the post in the DENDAO layer for the agenda and a link to join live so that you can actually ask verbally. Sometimes it's easier just to ask, have a discussion verbally than it is to roll through a lot of text. Welcome to join to cover anything related to Den. Then we have the World Blockchain Roundtable update that episode 38 will be on Thursday at 8 Pacific. This week's topic is interoperability. I need to look at the questions. It should be a good topic. But do go leave a question or topic on the weekly post and vote on others' replies. And also make sure you share last week's episode and watch it if you haven't. It currently has over 1,800 views. And the more views it gets, the first week, more all the participants will get. We at least want it to get over 2,000. So anyway, and that's it. So 3-question AMA right after this.
Now, more than ever, our data is at risk. Our supply chains are in jeopardy. Our systems are broken, and businesses feel powerless. Dragonchain gives you a different way, a safer way, a better way, and you have power over your data. Dragonchain gives you proof in an untrusted world. Build now at Dragonchain.com, America's blockchain.
All right, so we refresh the page, get the top ranked ones, and I'm going to try it because there were when I went through, I don't know where they're at right now, but when I went through, at least the top 5 were great questions. So I'm going to try to get in there and answer the ones that we don't cover today, but we'll see. First question, Drew 584. Can we talk about the quantum port of Dragonchain? Is the quantum security part of the Dragon L1 node? Can someone buy the quantum encryption? Okay, so the quantum security is part of the L1 node. Yes, we do have the capability. Essentially, I don't know how to describe this best, where we can create a special context that would be another level, and I don't know what we would call it. I think we had a name for it even when we were doing this. But primarily, yes, it is effectively sourced or accessed from an individual L1 node. So you would effectively upgrade your node to use it with an enterprise account, and you'd have to pay for it. But it adds both a local and a network-based quantum signature. Second, can someone buy the quantum encryption without running transactions through Dragonchain? Not through Dragonchain, you can't. The same algorithm is offered by our partner, Aquid. So there are cases where people do use that quantum algorithm without blockchain. But I don't know all of that. It is an algorithm, but we do not sell it without plugging in. And effectively, it's the only place on Earth that you can get a scalable blockchain with a core implementation of a quantum safe algorithm. So, and that is the most important thing that I think when we came to this partnership. At first, it wasn't clear, but once we took it out to prospects, that's where it shined, that there was nothing else like it, that you could both get what you might need for quantum encryption, but also be able to prove it on a blockchain or use it on a blockchain or tokenize it or monetize it on a blockchain, depending upon what your application is. So it's effectively the most important summary is that it's a it's a core integration. It is not just a bolt-on add. It is something that we're doing deep inside the code on your business blockchain. So anyway, okay, next up, snapshot. If at some point the Ethereum blockchain was compromised from a quantum brute force attack or a failure in the proof of stake system, which who knows, what would happen with Dragonchain? That's the beauty and the reasoning behind the actual proof side of the architecture. That let's say we didn't have any L5s turned on at all. That for one, you have multiple contexts verifying your transaction in a decentralized way, very decentralized way, without a measurable proof. So you already have what a lot of blockchains would value, that we have a very fast verification. It's usually less than 20 seconds, give or take, depending upon the availability of those nodes all the way up the chain. But as soon as you get back from your level 2, you already have a very fast decentralization of your transaction. And because it's only the proof, we add all these other security features. But when we add to level 5, the the high level goal of deciding, how do we prioritize which level 5s to add, which, talking about the question from earlier, it is effectively by network strength, which could be proof of work hash power, which would mean Bitcoin Cash. I'm trying to remember what the other big hash power blockchains were, and I haven't kept up on what the most recent are, right? Or if the network has high value in its decentralization, like Ethereum, it doesn't have, I believe it's orders of magnitude less hash power than what is used on Bitcoin. But I've not looked for a while, and they are not the same algorithms. They're not directly comparable, except the way that we do it with the dollar value, right? The amount of energy applied. We have a goal for diversity at that L5 layer, where that would mean that were it scalable, were it reasonable to maintain a Litecoin node, it would make sense to add a Litecoin node, because let's say there was some unknown issue with Bitcoin's algorithm. It's not likely, after all the testing and bounties that effectively are there for value, that would be the case, but it is not known. There could be an unknown issue with the cryptographic curve itself that Bitcoin uses that could be a backdoor by some nation state intel, right? That could be there. So I'm reversing it, that what if there were a problem with Bitcoin? Then Ethereum is still there. Let's hope that Ethereum doesn't have the same issue. Ideally, we'd have multiple chains. Ideally, some of them would be proof of stake as well, so that if one of them falls, the others are there. We've seen it multiple times in the past, demonstrated it, I should say, with Ethereum Classic, where it fell multiple times to attacks, and people were actually testing how much would it cost to 51% attack Ethereum Classic, because it's a smaller network, has less hash power, and the token is not as valuable as Bitcoin, as Ethereum. So it's effectively I can't remember what the estimates, either $20,000 or $50,000 at the time could do it, and so people were demonstrating that, and I don't know who it was, but we didn't have an issue. Our proofs still worked, because Bitcoin and Ethereum were already handling the brunt, the majority of that value, that security. So that's the whole point. That if Ethereum fell, let's say they changed to proof of stake, let's say they fork, and I don't know which one we would keep. It would probably depend upon what happens. But and we can all guess that it would be the new Ethereum would probably be the one that we would fork to. But the beauty is that Bitcoin will still be there. And if we ended up using both forks of whatever the new Ethereum is there, that we could, and I don't know the details of how that fork is, or whether there will be a fork and all the rest of it, but effectively the other L5s will counter any risk that is there for any one of them going down or any multiple of them going down. So anyway, that's why the architecture is the way it is, and it's a very reasonable design. And in my opinion, it's it takes account for all the potentials for attack. Other than there are potentials that the entire system is compromised and that all of them would go down. Who knows? We'll see. Either way, it's a good question. Jacob Wayne, last question. I should have brought a cough drop. Do you plan to roll out most or all of the planned features right hand are on Den? Or do you ever see Den creating a secondary platform that has its own reward system outside of the daily 1,000 matter minted? No motive for asking this, but just thinking about it the other day, fun thought experiment. I do agree. Like a video platform that is called Dragon Eyes, created by Den, as a poor example. Okay. There are a couple of things. So I will answer the video, so hopefully I don't forget to do that. We actually had a case in the recent past that still, we don't know yet what's going to happen, but a very interesting case where a group came to us wanting to effectively use some of the tech that we have in Den and maybe not use Den. And we think that that's always an option, because Den could get revenue from licensing that tech out and for helping them develop what they need, and then use that revenue to build out more on Den. And it's a decentralized governance thing. It would mean that there's a pot of money there that is usable, that we could hire out external devs to expand the team. We could do a lot of other things. So valuable there. We offered, and there is an interest in a white label, right? And so there's and I think that's a better idea, because if they were to plug in their mobile for what they are doing into a white label of Den, that it would effectively be, for revenue reasons, the same thing. The branding would who knows how it would be out branded and stuff, but it's their business. But that led to a thought experiment that if they want tokenization, as an example, you have to think this through. It's interesting. Since it is seen to be a censorship resistant platform, let's say they have a community, and whether the white label would just be a single community or whether it would be multi-community, who knows? It probably would be multi-community, even if it was multiple roles in their bigger community. But the interesting thing about it is we could include, and this would be a governance issue, and this would be something that all denizens would have a say in. We could effectively say we will allow federation, so that they could either adopt the Matter token and expand it, expand the utility, which would be very well positioned. It would be smart. Or if they have their own token because they have the interests that do not align, that people in those communities could effectively roll out into their own white labels. Like let's say that one of our communities in Den proper became very very well adopted. There were a lot of users, and they, for some reason, wanted multiple of their own layers. They could effectively create a new Den in Federation, pull out all of their past content into that Den. And the thing that I haven't figured out totally is how you handle the tokenization. If you're doing it with Matter, it's relatively easy to think about. If you're trying to do it with a secondary, you would have to work in that they have to then pay in lore or something to maintain the Federation. I don't know. There's a bunch of interesting stuff there. And as for the video, we do have, and by the way, maybe shoot, that's one of the things that should be on that, and isn't on the priorities list. We do have a few options for rolling out a video platform, and we had to figure out, is it integrated in a way that, the simplest but also the hardest to decide would be to just say, okay, here is a pool that we're going to take out of the daily Matter, and we're going to apply it to video alone. But I don't know if that's big enough. right? How do you determine how big that pool would be? And the secondary would be, if we had a video platform, it might be best just to say, here is the Den video platform, and it has its own token, and it's just very integrated, very cleanly with Den itself, so that it's, that is, you can still post a YouTube video like you do now. You can still post something that's on Library or some other video platform, but if you use our platform, there are extra features on blockchain. There are extra features. It would be on decentralized storage, and there would be its own economy. So you could effectively get tokenized rewards on that side as well. So interesting stuff. We don't know, but that's similar. How do we integrate these seemingly external services in a way that is that feels organic, that makes sense, and that doesn't upset any of the behavior balances and how the different roles work with each other. So anyway, that is the 3 questions. I'm going to try, like I said, to answer it, because there were a few other really good questions, like the tip one here from Verfluchti. But there were a bunch of good ones in there, so I'm going to try to get in there and answer those as well. I'm also going to vote them all up pretty high. I think that is everything. So let me go to the final updates. Let's see here. Merch. There is new World Blockchain Roundtable merch. I've ordered some. I think it's going to be here into this weekend maybe. So I'll be able to show off some mugs and stuff. We also have Dragon Energy Equals Love ongoing. So it's 20% off until the end of February for Valentine's Day. See, I even have I don't know if you can see that. I have the shirt on, I have the mug, and go and get that. It's all good. In closing, make sure you watch the show next Tuesday. Watch the roundtable, World Blockchain Roundtable this Thursday, and follow Dragonchain, Real Denizens, and Jojo Row on Twitter and LinkedIn and everywhere else. Make sure you subscribe and like and share the video. Thanks a bunch, everybody. Bye.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best. Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.